Behar-Bechukotai, this is a double parsha, and with this we end Sefer Vayikra. Next week we start a brand new one, Sefer Bamidbar. And in this parsha, the double parsha, like I said, in the first parsha, we're going to basically deal with the laws at the beginning, anyway, as the laws of shemitta, and really what happens when you dedicate a house to the temple, and so on and so forth. When it comes to Bechukotai, so that's when we learn if you walk in the ways of Hashem, then you'll get the rewards. If you don't walk in the ways of Hashem, you get the punishments. When it comes to the rewards, I'm doing this all ahead of time because I don't know where we'll get to. If when it comes to the rewards, so that already is unlimited. Hashem doesn't tell us exactly what's going to happen. It's basically an unlimited amount of reward we get if we follow Hashem, and that's, interestingly enough, it doesn't seem to matter if we're doing it l'shem shamayim or otherwise. It doesn't seem to say that. It may increase your reward a little bit one way or another, but bottom line is just follow the rules and we'll be in good shape. On the other hand, if we don't follow the rules, then there's a list of punishments that we will get, and all related to the our transgressions that, again, hopefully we'll get to. If we don't get to it today, we'll get to it on Shabbos. That'll be what I say on Shabbos as a result of that. But those things are limited. Hashem was nice enough to limit our curses. So that's one thing. Again, blessings are unlimited, curses are limited. So it's something we can always look forward to, that if we mess up, but that Hashem is not going to be continually cruel to us to try to get us back on the path. When it comes to shemitta, if you look again, his introductions are usually good. So let's go through the introduction. It says the commandment of the sabbatical year has a special relationship to Mount Sinai. At Mount Sinai, Hashem's majesty and power were so manifest that it was clear that the determining factors in human material success are Hashem's will and man's worthiness. The land's rest in the seventh year too teaches that the primary force in the universe is Hashem, not the laws of nature. And again, we don't have laws of nature. Yes, things work accordingly, but anytime that Hashem wants, He has the ability to uproot the laws of nature. So God created them, God can uproot them. That's, again, showing how powerful God actually is, and that God's the creator, because if God was not the creator, He could not uproot something. You can only uproot something, that which you create. By leaving his fields unattended, and that was from, who says, that was Rabachia, and others. By leaving his fields untended and unguarded for a year, the Jew demonstrates that this world is but a corridor leading to the ultimate world, that true life comes when man stops striving for material gain in favor of dedication to spiritual growth. But man cannot abstain totally from the world he lives in. Shemitah is only once in 7 years. That is why the Torah states clearly that man must sow and harvest for 6 years, just as it states that a man works for 6 days and rests on the Shabbat. This recognition infuses holiness and purpose into our work years and our work days. According to the Al-Sheikh, the Torah relates the observance of the Shemitah to Israel's arrival in the land that I give to you to counteract the normal human feeling that someone's property is his alone, especially the land he works with, sweat and travail. The Torah emphasizes, therefore, that it is God who gives the land. So we're being set up very strongly to say that when it comes to Israel, only Israel, that we have the Shemitah every 7 years. We have to let the land lie fallow. We're not allowed to do anything to the land. It's a year to get together, to reawaken our spirituality, to go to classes and so on and so forth. Retirement today, I guess, would be as close as you're going to get to that in America. When people, I remember when I was in many places, that people used to tell me, "Oh, Rabbi, I'd love to come to Minyan, and when I retire, it's going to happen." Which I would always say to them, "No, it won't." Pretty straight with them about that. And then what happened? The person retired. I said, great, mazel tov, you're in your retirement, so I can expect you morning, night, what's your schedule? Rabbi, I thought I could do it, but I'm so busy. I'm busier now than I was when I was working. Bottom line is, whatever you train yourself in your youth, you're going to do when you get older. And if you train yourself to give excuses not to be part of Hashem's service, then you won't be. Whatever that case is going to, if I say I'll learn when I get older, you won't. You're not going to. I'm not talking about the Baal Tshuva, by the way. I'm talking about the person who was from or grew up in that Seviva, that surrounding. The Baal Tshuva can happen at any time. Anybody can become, but for whatever reasons, that they flip the switch, they become Baal Tshuva, fine. So then they're going to be very serious. They're going to start figuring out what to do, and so on and so forth. But if you're just a regular Jew out there who's, again, being brought up from, whatever the case is going to be, you're not really going to change your lifestyle just because you're retired or whatever else is going to be. You'll still find reasons to not do what you're going to do. Or if you're doing it, you'll find you'll be more relaxed with it too. Because that's really how it works. So here, Hashem is putting in the system that even though I'm a farmer and I'm relying upon the land, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm plowing, I'm reaping, I'm going for 6 years straight, comes to Shemitah, suddenly Hashem says, I'm the landlord. Not you. I'm the landlord. So as a result of that, you have to stop. And we have to listen. If we don't listen, by the way, then we have all the problems. And that's what we'll see again in the next parsha, that we don't follow it. Or if, I've always looked at that when there's a Rashi that gives the amount of years that we did it. And it's basically for the 7, I know I'm going off topic, but it's an important thing. But it says that the reason we were in Bavel for 70 years was because we were making up for all the Shemitah cycles that we missed and the Yovel. So if Rashi goes through the whole accounting, and it comes, you can do the mathematics, every 7 years times 70, and you have 490 years, right? Mm-hmm. All right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that means they never kept a Shemitah cycle. Huh. If I understand that Rashi correctly, that means we never got that cycle. So what happens? Does it mean that nobody ever followed it? And that's what always bothered me. Do you mean nobody? What do you mean nobody? You have from people in the world. Nobody ever followed it. So I think you'd have to answer that there were those who didn't follow it. Mm-hmm. Not everybody. Yeah, those. I followed it. He didn't. So maybe I should have told him he should follow it, but I worried about more myself than the other guy. Like you have today with the world that is today. You're going to tell me nobody's keeping Shabbos? We all keep Shabbos. You have, let's say, 1 million Orthodox people out there. So 1 million Orthodox people are doing it. So 12 million people. Let's make it more. Let's make it. We're supposed to be 10% of the population. We have 13 million. 1.3 million people keeping Shabbos. The other people aren't keeping Shabbos. Really, they're just breaking it. Some don't even know it's Shabbos, but those who know it's Shabbos, they're not lighting Shabbos candles. They're not making kiddush. They're not doing anything. Not going to shul. Even if they're driving, they're not doing anything. So again, that's what you have to look at. And I think that's how we have to look at this. When it says that we didn't keep Shemitah, hopefully that would be more than 10%, by the way, if they kept Shemitah or Yovel. But I would hope that it's much more than that. But I think that's how we'd have to look at that. I can't believe that nobody did it. I would have a hard time believing nobody did it. Okay.
Well, what happens today in Israel? There are people that are keeping it.
So what happens in Israel is they sell the land.
Oh, yeah.
They sell the land to one Arab guy, or whatever it works out. And nobody knows who the Arab is. If they did, they would kill him probably. I'm saying the Arabs, because he's helping the Jews. But basically, that's what they do. They sell the land. We did a lunch and learn that. Yeah. Remember that some people hold by the sale, some people don't hold by the sale. Yeah. Those who don't hold by the sale, they can't do anything.
If you hold by this, selling hummus on Pesach, I think we can understand very easily. But how can you, if you sell the land and that's considered legitimate, that really seems like. What do they call it? was fictional.
What do you mean fictional?
Yeah.
Well, let's get to. I mean, again, there's not the.
I mean, how can you say you're observing shemitta? I'm going to sell it to the Arab.
Oh, because the same way. No, if I can really sell it to the Arab, I don't own it. If I don't own it, then I can be a tenant farmer.
The Arabs saying we don't want to sell it back.
Okay, but you're going to. It's like comments on Pesach.
We're not allowed to sell the land.
Oh, so that's the other question. That's where, again, that was part of the shear. According to the opinion, it says you can't sell the land, so what are you going to do? Okay, and that's why there are groups who don't hold by the sale, and they say the sale is invalid. And by the way, if it is invalid, then the rabbis have caused a lot of people to sin, and so on and so forth. The reason that you want the sale to work, by the way, is because of commerce. We're in a world economy, so I have to make money. So again, what you could argue, wait a second, don't you trust in Hashem? Well, okay, so you can argue all you want about those things.
What about the scientific, as I understand, the agricultural scientific principle, and it comes right out here, but I believe it's been proved scientifically. If you let a field lie fallow every 7 years, in the long run, it produces much more.
It's every other year. Every
7 years. And the way I understand that large farmers do it, or even a small farmer, they calculate whatever a seventh of their total property is, and they mark it off somehow, the 7 sections, and they let that 1/7 of it lie fallow.
So what happens is like this.
When the land recovers,
good. So Rashi says about that with shemitta, if you follow shemitta, then you can use your entire land and you don't have to lose any field.
He talks about rotating.
He says, he says if you're in other places, they have to rotate their fields.
If they're not in Israel. What do you mean?
Anywhere. In our Hashem was, Rashi, I think it was Rashi, or the Rashi or Ramban. No, I'm just saying, he's saying what Hashem did for the people was alleviated them from having to rotate their crops.
I just did it all at once. Okay.
Right. So that is, I'm trying to see if it was Rashi.
You have to save up for those 6 years, basically.
Oh, of course. Well, not the 6 years. In the 6th year, you're going to get a bumper crop.
I wonder that there might be something scientific behind that too. That maybe it takes after lying fallow, maybe it takes 6 years for the land to really produce to the utmost, and you really get that bumper crop in it.
If that would be the case, then everybody would experience it. So I don't think in other words, every country would experience that. I don't think it happens.
Every 7th of their land, they're rotating. Right. Every 7th of their land would really produce good.
Right. I don't think that happens.
Every 7th year, then.
I don't think that happens. That's just my. And then in the Jubilee year, and the year before the Jubilee year, it produced enough for 3. So, like I said, I don't think what we're trying to say is it's not scientific. What we're trying to say is it's all from Hashem. What?
I thought rotating crops was.
That is scientific. Rotating crops is scientific. But what we're saying here is that you're getting enough produce.
Oh, for that 6th year to be.
In the 6th year to hold you up for 2 years. So that is only from Hashem. That's again showing that Hashem's in charge.
We're talking about you can't hold vegetables, produce over, but grain you can store and hold over, right?
Yeah.
So that
by the way, if Hashem makes it that you're going to hold over produce, you'll make hold over produce. Again, it's all a matter of do I have emunah or don't I have emunah? Because I can can things. I can I have all these things that we know that can produce.
They were able to seal clay powder.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is, with all this stuff, either I believe that Hashem is not going to let me starve, or I don't. So, again, the reason today that I say that they use this sale, if I remember the argument correctly, was one, we're not even sure it's derisa right now because the majority of us aren't in Eretz Yisrael. So it may be that shemitta, even in Eretz Yisrael, is still a derabanan, and therefore, if it's derabanan, then we can get away. I think that was the argument.
Sure, they're in Eretz Yisrael.
What?
They're not sure they're in Eretz Yisrael?
No, they're sure they're in Eretz Yisrael. What I said is the majority of the Jews aren't in Eretz Yisrael.
Oh! Okay.
And we have no Sanhedrin and so on and so
That
forth.
the majority of us are there?
If I remember correctly, that was part of the argument. Then, like I said, assuming that is, and it's on Durabanan, so then we could sell it. If it's Deraisa, I don't think we could sell it at all. Yeah. And there, but again, the reason that I think Rav Kook is the one who jumped onto the sale is because he was saying originally he was. I'm trying to remember what the whole thing was. But I believe he said originally he was against it, and then he saw how poor the people were, and at Ahavas Yisrael, you have to love the Jew here, and so you have to let him make a living. So what they did was, I think that's when he signed on to the sale, and let the people sell. But it was a matter of commerce, and the rule, again, you don't want to starve. So. And it really is a very high level of belief that Hashem is going to take care of you, that nothing's going to happen, I'm going to have enough. And when I don't work my field, again, you go to a farmer for this, they can answer you more than I can, but you have weeds that grow up, and it takes much longer to the next year to get it back to plowable stuff, I'm guessing, and weeding and so on and so forth. So
6 year really is,
I'm just saying that's we can. I don't want to negate the science of it, but what I'm saying is that's not.
Yeah, I understand.
It may be that scientifically something's there. I'm not going to argue that, but remember who created science? Hashem.
Yeah.
So Hashem is working within the system.
That's why science works, right?
Right. So Hashem is, but that's what I'm saying. For us, it doesn't matter what we think science is going to do. Because what's going to happen? By the way, let's understand something too. If it was a scientific method, everybody would do it, and there'd be no miracle here.
Doesn't it?
No. Again, everybody will skip a. I have 4 fields. I cut my field into 4.
Yeah.
So 1/4 I leave life fallow every year.
That's too much. Now you're really losing with 1/4 instead of a 7.
But I'm saying one of my fields.
I mean, but it's interesting to me that historically people have gone with 7. There must be something to it.
No, they do every 7. Oh, so you want to say every 7 years?
Yeah.
Okay. Even there, if I want 1/7, if I take 1/7 and I say, okay, I'm not going to plant you, I'm going to plant the other ones. The question is, in that field, when they're doing that, they still have food coming up.
Oh, right. They're going on a scientific.
What I'm saying is they have
everything.
They still have food coming up. They're not worried. Here, what the Torah is telling you is you can't plant anything.
Right. Yeah.
Done.
So that's
once every 7 years, you have to.
The Emunah comes in.
Right. That's the Emunah. And again, the other thing is not Emunah, and that's not my point. But my point goes further. Let's say that this was a guarantee. That in the 6th year, we have a bumper crop, and I don't have to worry. Okay? So now what happens is I come, and I get my bumper crop. I even get my bumper crop. Okay? Now I'm in the 7th year, and I'm looking at my field while I'm learning my Gemara, because I'm on my front porch, I guess. I don't know. And I'm learning my Gemara, doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and I see that there's stuff happening in my field. Wow. You know how much work I have to do again? And again, I have to have bitachon Hashem, and Emunah and Hashem, that all my work is not going to be, that I won't have to work overtime. What's the old saying? When I go on vacation for a week, it takes me a month to catch up. Okay, everything's all over the place. They don't leave you alone. You have all the emails, you have all the mishagas you have to look at. It takes you longer to fix up from your vacation than it seems worthwhile. Yeah, you were good, you were happy on your vacation, but then you came back, what am I doing?
Wow, the field is going to be overgrown with weeds and junk.
So that's my point. That's another part of the test. I have to say, Hashem said no.
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. So, and again, that's part of the test, and apparently we didn't pass.
But it's funny, the scientific viewpoint, you can also compare that, we talked about this before in whatever class, to food. I don't eat the pig, not because I don't like the way it tastes or smells, but because Hashem says don't eat it.
Correct.
So,
Correct.
So again, before the refrigeration, you've discussed this before. So people could say, wow, the only reason that was given, right, was for health.
Right.
Right. It was deeper than that.
Right. Right. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
But it starts off, first pasuk is a strange pasuk. Normally, throughout the whole book, has been saying, Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. Suddenly it throws in two words, Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe Behar-Sinai lemor. At Mount Sinai, Hashem spoke to Moshe at Mount Sinai's saying. And so so what does that mean? So again, number one, it says on Mount Sinai, what is the connection between Shemitah and Mount Sinai? The reference teaches that not only the broad outlines, but the details of all the commandments were given at Sinai, as were those of the Shemitah, even the commandments that the Torah recorded many years after the revelation at Sinai. The otherwise superfluous quote words on Mount Sinai is meant to indicate that all the commandments are of Sinaitic origin as well. This commandment proves that only Hashem is the author of the Torah. This is a Chasam Sofer, because this chapter guarantees that the year before Shemitah will produce a crop large enough to last for 3 years. Until the next crop is harvested. If a human being were inventing such a commandment, he would have been foolhardy indeed to make such a prediction. Only God could make such a statement. Another proof that Hashem is the author of the Torah. Again, he's Chasam Sofer 100% correct. If you can tell me all you want with science and everything else.
And this is, I've observed over recent years since really studying here, that this is in other places too. In the Torah, we were talking about food just a minute ago. That there's what is it, the two simonim for
right, for the animals.
And
only 4 animals will have those 2 types, right?
And why would a person writing it, be foolish enough to put that in writing?
Correct. I mean the camel, the hare, the hyrax, and the pig. Why does it identify those 4? 100%. Only that's another proof that Hashem wrote the Torah. Nobody else would say that.
These are the two.
They only have one of the 2 signs. They only have one of the 2 signs.
And that's it. And you so in the next 3,000 years, somebody's bound to find a 5th one, right?
Correct. No, that's exactly the point. So here we're saying Har Sinai that the laws of Shemitah also came. So everything came, as Rashi says, all the general rules and the specific rules came from Sinai, and we're learning that from these extra words, Behar-Sinai. So then it says, Daber b'nei Israel, speak to b'nei Israel. You should say to them, Ki tavo'u el haaretz, when you come to the land, asher ani noten lachem, that I am giving to you, present tense, I'm giving to you, v'shavta haaretz Shabbat el Hashem. The land will rest, and it will be a Shabbat for Hashem. When Rashi says, what does it mean Shabbat Hashem? L'shem Hashem. It should be for the sake of God. In other words, again, the science is going to tell me that if I let my land lie fallow, then I don't have to, then it'll be good for the crops. Hashem says that's not the reason that you don't plant. The reason is because I said so. And then again in 2, it says, Ramban comments that the comparison between Shemitah and the Shabbat is that both bear testimony to Hashem's creation of the universe in the 6 days and his rest on the 7th day. This is why only Shemitah, not any of the festivals, is specifically likened to Shabbat. The 7 years of the Shemitah cycle allude to the 6,000 years of history that will be climaxed by the 7th millennium, which will be a period of peace and tranquility. That's where you get the famous drasha that in the 7th, that in the end of the 6,000 years, that the Mashiach will come. That's where you get the drasha from. Okay, and it says, Sheishanim tizrasadecha, back in the pasuk, 6 years you will plant your field. Sheish shanim tizmor kamecha, and in 6 years you will prune. Prune, that's what they say, prune. You will prune your vineyards, v'yasafta et tifota, and you will gather in its produce. And so then it says, V'shana Shviyat, In the 7th year, Shabbat Shabbaton Yeh La'aretz, it will be a Shabbaton for the land. It will be a Shabbat Shabbaton in 7th. It will be a Sabbath, a complete rest.
Yeah.
Okay, complete rest for the land.
Oh, that's what they call it. You have to use it with the emphasis.
Well, actually, no.
What do they call that?
This is not emphasis. No. It's a Sabbath. It's I get, well, maybe it could be Shabbaton, yeah, but it's when you say emphasis, it's normally for a what do you call it? Verbs, but this seems to be a noun. It should be a rest.
That you really did that.
Right. When we call it a Shabbaton, I mean, we're not, you know. So and for Shevet, it would be
complete rest.
Complete rest. Yeah, it could be. It could be. I mean, I'm not sure if it's coming from the verb or not.
Oh.
The verb would be yihiyah in that case, but okay.
Oh, it will be.
Yeah. So Shabbat, Hashem should be a Shabbat. Hashem tzadcha lo tizrom. Your fields you should not plant. V'chamrecha lo tizmor, and your vineyards you should not prune. Okay. Right. And it's v'yetz afich ketzircha, and it even goes so far that the aftergrowth of your reapings, lo tiksor, you're not allowed to reap. In other words, you have stuff that grows in the field. What's it called? Annual? No, perennial. Perennial things grow. You may have something there. You're not allowed to reap them. And the grapes that you had set aside. So lo tipsor, you should not pick them.
Oh, those would grow from year to year.
Right. Shabbaton Yeh La'aretz. So again, it should be a year of a Shabbaton it should be a year of rest for the land. What's going on there, by the way, is that you say I didn't plant it, but it's growing up. It's growing up by itself, so I should be able to take it. The answer is no. You can't act like the owner. In all these cases, you can not act like the owner. What you have to do is hefker, is ownerless. So it's interesting. The Gemara, if I remember correctly, I emphasize this, that if I remember correctly, you don't have to let the people trample your fields. You can pick it and you can put it out for them so they don't run roughshod over your fields. Because that's a rabbinic thing more than anything else, because the rabbis were concerned that if I have to let everybody come in, I'm going to make the fence high. Because you want to protect your land.
What, this when you're supposed to leave the corners over?
No.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about shemitta.
Oh.
Let's say you have an apple orchard, right? Yeah. So the guy sees an apple, he cries. Now, if I'm going onto your land, I'm not going to be as careful on your land as I am on.
Who else is allowed to go in and pick it then?
Say it again?
Who's allowed to go pick it?
According to the way it sounds, everybody.
Jews too?
Yeah. The only thing I can't do is show ownership. So I can't, if I have an apple orchard, right? So I can't and I have a fence normally, 6 years out of the thing. I have a fence around it, right? Yeah, so nobody can come in. Whatever my orchard is, whatever my vineyards are, it's my stuff. I have to sell. I have to make money. So I have the fences around these things. Okay. Now, or it comes to my fields. Okay. I have the shotgun ready to shoot you varmints for coming on my land. So now what happens is, comes to the shemitta year, I'm sitting in my base medrash, not doing anything, and what happens? I see, it's a nice apple. I go to my tree and I pick my apple. No problem. There's no problem whatsoever. If you see a tree, you see an apple, you can pick it. No problem. What you cannot do is show ownership. That means I can't reap it. I can't bring the thing that shakes the trees and everything falls, and whatever it's going to be. That I cannot do.
You don't take one apple, eat right now.
Take one apple, a couple of apples. I can fill my basket up, whatever, and go home with it. You can do the same thing. Okay. But the problem is, again, if I don't own the land, I see something on your land, shemitta year, I see something on your land, and I decide, I wouldn't mind that. So I go and I climb up your tree, knock a couple of branches off while I'm doing it, climb up the tree and grab the thing. I'm not responsible for that. I don't care about it. I just wanted my apple. So what happens is the rabbi said, this is not a good situation because people will not like the others destroying their land. So what they said was, okay, again, I'm trying to remember, I'm trying to pull this out of my memory here, but if I remember correctly, they said, so you can take everything down yourself, or with some workers, take them down, you pay the workers, but then you make it hefker. You make it ownerless. It's not yours.
You put up a fruit stand that says free produce.
Free produce, is it? Because you don't want people coming through your land. And that way nobody traipsed through your land and destroyed everything. And, again, if the rabbis didn't allow that, then people would have found some way to keep you out. They would have made the fence high, broke the halacha. It wasn't worth it to them. So, I'm pretty sure we just learned that in Baba Batras. I sort of seem to remembering it from. But anyway, so, right. So again, you're not supposed to show ownership. That's the main thing. It should be again the Sabbath for the land for you to eat, for you, your maids, your male servants and your female servants, and to the ones, your employees, and to the ones who are living in the land, that are living with you. Okay, and to the domesticated animal and to the wild animal that is on your land, to its produce should be for you to eat, not for you, but should be to eat. So he says, Rashi explains, and it should be Shabbat for the land. He said, Afalpi, even though Asartim Alecha, that I have forbidden this to you, Lo ba'achila, lo b'hana asartim. I did not forbid it as far as eating or as far as hana is enjoyment. Ella, and it's the whole point, this is the linchpin, El shelo tinho behem kebal habayit. You just can't act like the owner. Ella kol yeh shavam ba, ata v'sircha, sotchavcha, but everybody should be equal in this. To communism, right? Everybody's equal. Shabbat so it should be a Sabbath of the land for you to eat. From that which has rested, you can eat. But you cannot eat from something that was guarded. So if I kept my fence up and I built it higher and so on and so forth, so nobody can get in, I can't claim, it was hefker, right? Imagine I have a fence around my yard, and now I put a lock on the fence, and I say, okay, I say to the Lord, it's all hefker. I declare everything hefker, but you can't get in my yard. What do you mean it's hefker? It's not onerous. Imagine on the other side, if I put it on my curb, and I say hefker, I put a sign up, take free of charge, please take. If nobody takes it, whose fault is that? It's not my fault. Wow. You didn't take it. So now I can take it. Okay? There's an old story, I may have told this. There was an old story of in Europe, I think it was a barkeep. That's what it was, that's what they call him, the owner of the barkeep. So what happened was, he forgot to sell the chametz, something like that. Or he couldn't do it. The rabbi left town. I forget what it was. So what happened was he and his wife said, we can't own chametz. That's it. So they took all the chametz. They put it. All the beer that they had, and they put it outside, and they declared it hefker. It's hefker. It's outside. Leave me alone. I don't want it. It's hefker. So the story goes that after there's two takes on the story. The one story says when they came back, they found that there were animals guarding their liquor, and according to that story, they took it in and said thank you to Hashem. I mean, it's none of our business. We said it's after. The other story says they came back and they saw that nothing was taken, and the guy says, I said it's ownerless. He took an axe and smashed it, and he let it run. Wow. So again, I don't know which story is true, but or if either one of them is even true. But the point is that when you say it's hefker, you have to really hold this hefker. It can't be. It's
you put it out, it's like here, like in Chicago, something you don't want, you put it out on the curb, and trash day guys driving around with a pickup here, they pick it up.
That's it.
So if it's still there, then you say, well, if you want to take it back, you take it back.
Right. Once it's hefker, it's hefker. Once it's outside, it's done. Yeah. That's it. But and that's really what goes on. So that's the whole Indian. That's the whole matter of being hefker. Again, ownerless. Once I'm mafker, and that's, by the way, on Pesach, Erev Pesach. Let's say you have garbage.
Yeah.
Okay. There seems to be an argument about this. I'm not sure why, but there seems to be an argument. If I put the garbage in my garbage can and it's on my land, and you can't get access to it, so I could hear it, that it's really not made hefker. I could hear it. I'm not sure why. Again, I don't know. Today, in America, we don't look through most people aren't looking through the garbage to find little pieces of bread or whatever they're looking for. But nonetheless, once you put it on the curb and leave it there, and it's not even my trash can, it's the city's trash can. Yeah. And I say hefker, I declare hefker, it's ownerless, everything else. I'm not sure why people don't like that. They don't like that. They say, no, let's throw it out in the shoals thing. Again, I can't answer for everybody. Maybe obviously I'm missing something. I want to say maybe, obviously I'm missing something. Rabbi Bowman even went so far. I think he was the one who said, or the CRC says, I don't know who says it, to put bleach. If you don't want to do it, so you pour bleach over it.
It's no longer food.
So there's right. So you could do that. A couple of different ways to do that. But again, if it's on plastic, you haven't really done anything. We don't put the garbage in.
Yeah.
You're putting it in the garbage in a plastic bag. So I'm not sure what the bleach of the garbage bag would do. Because it's plastic, it doesn't go through the plastic. That's the point.
Maybe you have in mind that whatever you're dumping out there is that you personally, no matter what state or conditions, you don't consider it food anymore. It's garbage.
Yeah, but you don't need to put anything over that. And that's my point, by the way. I'm saying I made a hefker. I know that if I find it, so they would argue that if the dog would find it, or we have raccoons. So if the raccoon would find it, I guess that's what they're, but even there, I'm saying it's hefker. Right here, who finds it? I put it on my yard, eat what you want. Let the birds eat it too. I don't care, it's none of my business. But like I said, you have that sort of discussion about what is hefker, what is ownerless, what is not ownerless. And it's a hard thing to imagine.
Like, for example, in the shul or any public office building, people leave coats and hats and all kinds of umbrellas and stuff behind. And at some point in time, the authority of that building declares, well, this is somebody is certainly given up on it right now, so now we put out notices. It's hefker. Nobody owns it anymore.
Right.
You want to come and get it?
Well, we've declared it. We've declared it hefker.
Yeah.
We the bait-in. See, that's all the thing. It's not if I would find something in my closet that wasn't mine, but I knew I had somebody there. I'm not allowed to throw it out. It's Hashavas Aveda. I have to return it to the person, so I have to know who it is, or I have to wait for the person to. I found something. I have to keep it. This is always a big fight at the shul between certain people. What gives you the right to do it? And so the answer is the Ziknei Ha'ir have the right to do that. The elders of the city have a right, or the Rav has in a bait-in sort of situation.
Put out the notices, come by and check and see if
if you don't have it, we consider it. We're not going to hold it forever.
Every shul does that.
Right, but I'm saying that's all based upon, if I remember correctly, it's all based upon their power as a quote-unquote bait-in to do that. Otherwise, again, if I have something in my house, I can't just throw it out. I have to try to figure out. I have to hold it.
I remember studying it. Yeah, if you're like 99.9% certain it belongs to a Jew.
And if it's identifiable. In other words, if I found $1 in my house,
wait a minute.
it has to be identifiable. So if I found $1 in my house, I don't have to.
Right, so somebody left a coat hanging, and there's nothing in it that indicates.
But they could identify it.
So you would do the same thing. You put the notice out in an email for the next year.
But the point is, they may be able to identify if it's identifiable. Has to be identifiable.
Oh,
if
if
it's not identifiable,
name,
let's say it was
label,
torn. Let's say it was torn. Well, if that's a name, it should be.
No, the manufacturer,
Right.
whatever type of coat it is.
Right, and let's say it was a little torn, and the guy could identify the tear. Like I said, there are ways in which he, if he can identify the coat, if it's identifiable, so then all these things don't work. If it's non-identifiable, like your coat is like my coat, non-identifiable, right? Okay, I think that your hat, that hat.
Yeah.
We have black hats in this place.
Those,
I always have a black hat hanging around here.
There's a lot of those. There's a lot of those around.
Right. So once you can't prove it's yours, so then I'm not responsible to keep it. If it's something that I have to, I'm responsible for, I think I have to stop it. Yeah. So if it's something I'm responsible for, then we have to. If you can identify, then we have to keep it. Okay.